Philadelphia, get ready to be inspired. If you need help finding the light in the darkness, don't touch that dial. Let's navigate life through the lens of hope with Scotty P. Inspirational speaker Scotty P speaks the importance of mental health in society and encourages techniques to overcome the everyday mental health obstacles that hold us back in life. It's not just inspiration, it's Scotty P inspiration.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Scotty P Inspiration Show here with your host, Scott Prendergast, aka Scotty P. Thank you so much again, everyone, for joining me on this Monday morning. I really appreciate you all being here today, and I hope that by listening to this, I can help you to navigate your life through the lens of hope and rediscover the resilience within yourself. So, everybody, happy Monday. Thanks again for being here. Really excited for this episode today because I think it's going to be on a topic that's going to help a lot of people and really make you look at things a little bit different with some of the everyday struggles that you face in your life. Okay, everybody? So real quick, though, what we got to say is if you want to watch any previous episodes of this show, you can do it a few ways. You can go on any major podcast platform and search the Scotty P Inspiration Show. You can watch it that way. You can go on my website, www.scottypinspiration.com, and watch it, or you can go on my YouTube channel, that's Scotty P Inspiration, and watch any of the past episodes that way as well. All right, everybody. So like I always do, I like to jump into things today, get going so that you can take something from this show and apply it to your day, excuse me, right now, right here in this moment. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so today's episode I really want to talk about is getting out of your own way. Something that we all know that we need to do, yet we're not always sure how to do it. And we don't always know what the source is and where it's coming from, right? So that's what I want to talk about today. And I like to start with a quote like I always do to kick things off and kind of set the tone for where we're going to be going today. So the quote that I have is as follows. It says, quote, "If you just get out of your own way, it's amazing what'll come to you." And that is by Laird Hamilton, who is an American author, and I believe he's a surfer as well. So that quote again is, "If you just get out of your own way, it is amazing what will come to you," by Laird Hamilton. I love this quote because I feel like so many of us, we're just stuck in our own way. We're stuck in what we think about ourselves. We're stuck in what we think we can't be or think what we should be or think what we definitely won't be, right? We get stuck in our own way so much that it prevents us from doing the things we want to do and becoming the people that we want to be, right? So today's episode, I want to talk about, hey, let's acknowledge that this is hard, but also what are some things we can do to get out of our own way so we're not stuck in this same cycle of stagnation and monotony over and over again, okay? Now, the first thing I really wrote down very simply was just saying this. I've heard it said multiple times that 90% of life is mental and 10% is physical. I don't know if it's 100% those exact dimensions, if it's 90-10, but regardless, I would agree that it is majority mental, more mental than anything else. Because think about it. Before you want to do anything, you've got to think about what that thing is, right? Before you can pursue something, you got to dream it up. Before you make any type of action, you're going to be having a thought about that thing first, right? So it makes sense that most of this life is mental. And this can either kind of work for us or against us, right? Because the fact is, when we're thinking about something too much, it can either drive us to really be motivated to go do it and get something done and make a change in our lives, or it can kind of tear us apart. And it can just completely overtake and overrule everything that we're doing and our whole mind and thought process to the point that we just start procrastinating or staying stagnant because it becomes such an anxiety-provoking thing to think about. So I really think, yes, most of life is mental. Not as much of it is physical. Obviously, some is too. But I think this really comes down to the fact that our mind is a powerful tool. Now, I don't want to be one of those generic motivational speakers, and anyone who knows me knows that I'm not, that says, if you put your mind to it, you can achieve it. I mean, yeah, that's true. No doubt. That's facts. We all know that. But come on. Just saying something like that's not inspiring anybody. Because the fact is, the mind is a powerful tool. And yes, if you put your mind to something, you can achieve it. But let's get a little bit dirtier in there. Let's get a little messy with what really goes on in that time, in that process, right? Because the mind can be used for us or it can be used against us. And one of the best ways to illustrate this is kind of from one of my favorite songs from 21 Pilots. It's one of the first ones. I forget the name of it. But essentially what the lead singer says at one point is saying, tie a leash around your brain and tell it that you belong to me. Essentially saying hey, my brain's wandering so much. My mind's always wandering and telling me where to go and what to do. I have to remember that I'm in control, that I'm in control of this brain, that I got to tell it what to do. It belongs to me, not vice versa. And I always loved that quote, that lyric. And you can look up the song if you want. I forget what it is. It's 21 Pilots song, it's one of the early ones. And essentially it's just talking about putting their brain on a leash, right? So great lyric, love that. But I think it's so true because I can't tell you how many times that my own insecurities or my own thoughts or doubts about this or that has prevented me from doing something that I really wanted to do, or has prevented me from taking action in the thing that I really wanted to take action on because my insecurities, my brain, my doubts, that powerful tool that is my mind would get in my own way. And I think this is something so many of us can relate to on so many different levels. And it happens more than we think, right? And what I'm going to talk about later is that I really feel like we have two different voices in our head. And I'm going to discuss those later. I don't want to give that away because that's going to be for our second part of the show. But it's so incredibly true. And which voice we act on is going to determine what we're going to see. So I'm just planting a seed for you listeners. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. So make sure you stay tuned for the rest of the show because that's going to be later in the second half. And I'm really excited for that. But anyways, going back to the fact that this mind is a powerful tool, I don't think that we realize how incredibly, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't think we realize how incredibly sensitive and fragile we are as people sometimes. You know, we hear, especially in today's day and age, like, oh, I'm tough, like, oh, I'm a tough person, or oh, I can move through anything, or oh, this person's like a, you know, insert whatever they say here, right? You know, this person, you know, they move through things and they get stuff done, right? But I feel like so many of us, the second that something opposes us, or the second that something difficult happens in our lives, the second that there's some type of issue that didn't go exactly according to what we planned, we allow that mind of ours to just shut off any progress that we're going to make. We allow that mind of ours to get filled with every single doubt and insecurity and self-pity and self-disastrous thing that we can think of, and it just cuts off our progress right there. You know, we're all real tough. We're all really doing things, making plays in our lives until something doesn't go according to plan. And then that's when we allow that insecurity to just run rampant again. That's when we start to let ourselves block ourselves from doing something that we want to do. That's when we really start getting in our own way. You know, it's easy to start doing things and getting out here and doing all kinds of new, amazing, praiseworthy stuff when everything's going right and when it's going along with your plan. But the second something comes out of the blue that isn't what you expected, what are you going to do in that moment? Are you going to allow yourself to block yourself, so to speak, from doing something? Or you're going to readjust, go back to the drawing board and make an alternative route to get around whatever that damned up thing is. Now, that's not for me to tell you how to do. That's not for me to really judge. That's not for me to say, yes, you're doing that or not. That's for you to ask yourself. Because part of getting out of our own way is acknowledging when something's not going right, but continuing to find another way to make it happen anyways. But when we get in our own way, we allow our circumstances or situation to just completely poison our mind and convince us to give up. And on today's episode, I want to show you that we don't have to do that, that we can get out of our own way, that we can get out of our own head, that our brain does belong to us, and the insecurities and negative self-talk and things we say to ourselves and other people say to us, that does not belong to us. And we don't have to take action based off of those things, but rather we could take actions based off of that first voice, that kind voice that lets us know that we can do this, that we are worthy, that this dream is not just for nothing, right? Those are the things that we want to drive us. And there's a couple different ways that we're going to do that. And I'm really excited to talk about that in the second part of the show. Again, I'm planting seeds here for you. But as we've got a few more minutes for the first part of the show, one of the things I also wanted to touch on here was kind of to put this back on the listener. Because as you know, I love this show to be listener-centric and for you to be able to hear this and say, okay, let me think about my own life. Let me think about my situation and when this has happened to me. So one of the things that I wrote down was, I really want you, the listener, to think about the amount of times that you've talked yourself out of something. Think about that. Think of the amount of times that you've talked yourself out of doing something. You know, whether it was something that you were really passionate about that you wanted to do, whether it was something as simple as talk yourself out of wearing a different shirt to school, whether it was talk yourself out of a career, talk yourself out of a relationship, talk yourself out of just going out one night or doing something different, whatever it is. Think about it, listener. Think about it. Think about the amount of times that you really talked yourself out of doing something. Okay. And then on top of that, think of how many times that you've created assumptions that prevented you from taking action. And so after you think about how many times you talked yourself out of something, then how many times have you created assumptions that have prevented you from taking action? Assumptions of, well, I can't do this anyways. Or, well, I don't have what it takes to be like that type of person. Oh, well, I'm from here, so I can't do that. Or I can't do that because I'm doing this. Or, oh, I'll never be able to do that because I don't have this. Think about how many times you do that. We all do it a lot. And honestly, it's multiple times throughout the day. I know for myself, a lot of times I fight this, and I'm sure everybody does. It's a multiple time throughout the day where you have this opportunity for something. You have this strong thought. You have this moment of passion and inspiration. And then we talk ourselves out of it. And then we make assumptions on why we can't do it. Then we start listing off all the reasons why we're too much of this or too little of that or can't do this or can't do that. And then next thing you know, we've gotten in our own way. And that idea, that thought, that action that we were going to take is now just completely tossed into the abyss, never to be seen again, because we convinced ourselves that we weren't enough. We convinced ourselves that we didn't have what it took. We convinced ourselves that we wouldn't be enough even if we tried. And to me, that's one of the saddest things in the world. And that's one of the reasons why I got into this business, is to help people to work through that stuff. Because I remember I heard somebody say once that the richest place in the world is a cemetery, because all the dreams and ideas that people die with, that they never take action on because they got in their own way. And I don't want anyone to have to live their life that way. I don't want to live my life that way. And the people I work with, I don't want them to live their life that way. I want them to at least say, hey, you know what? Maybe that idea didn't work out. Maybe it didn't go as planned, but at least I took action on it. At least I believed in myself. At least I got out of my own way to try something and step out onto the waves to see what would happen, instead of just sitting there allowing this world and the negativity in it and your own negative thoughts to just completely bully you and prevent you from taking a step out onto something that really might meant a lot to you. You know, that is something that I think is just a struggle of humanity. And for those that you see that are successful, and again, success is a subjective term, but those that you admire, that maybe you want to emulate like and be like, I can guarantee you that those people did take action on those thoughts, and that they did get confronted by their own insecurities. And what did they do? They pushed through it. They found a way to detour around it, or they just bullied it back and ran right through it and said, hey, these insecurities are here every day. Hey, this doubt is here every day. Hey, I'm trying to make up excuses as to why I can't do this. But you know what's more than that? I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep pushing forward. I'm going to keep looking for reasons as to why I can, to fight back against the reasons why I tell myself that I can't. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. There's no secret magic pill. There's no magic formula to achieve your dreams. It's really what I just said. It's knowing that those negative voices and factors are always going to be there. Those things are always going to come and derail you, but continuing to keep moving forward and finding a way regardless of it. Because I'm a true believer that if you keep moving forward, you'll get to where you want to go, or something even better. But I think the problem is with a lot of us is when that obstacle comes and that negative self-doubt comes and that insecurity comes and society comes into our head, we just stop. And today's episode is all about learning to move through that. So we got so much more for you. I can't wait for the second part, because we're going to talk about legitimate strategies that I've come up with that you can use to help you get out of your own way in this world today with whatever you're going through. So everybody, don't go anywhere. This is Scotty P, your inspiration. Let's go. See you in a minute.
Hey everyone, Eric Katz here, the owner of Katz Dogs Canine. Are you working from home and need to get your dog out running around for the day? Will you be traveling this summer and looking for a place to board your pup? Is your dog looking a little shaggy and need a haircut or bath? Are you looking forward to walking around and enjoying this beautiful weather, but you can't because your dog's pulling like a freight train? Well, you're in luck. We are a one-stop shop that focuses on daycare, boarding, grooming, and training. We are located at 35 Middle Road, Percy, PA, on 10 beautiful acres. You can check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Katz Dogs Canine, or our website, katzdogscanine.com. Our phone number is 855-KATZ-DOG, 855-528-9364.
What's going on, everyone? This is Scott Prendergast here, aka Scotty P. Real quick, I want to talk to you about my business. It's called Scotty P Inspiration. And what I am is I'm an inspirational speaker, and I want to help others navigate life through the lens of hope. Now, I do this through speaking engagements, but also one-on-one life coaching. So if you're interested in booking me or doing some of that coaching, let me know. Check me out at www.scottypinspiration.com or check out my Instagram at scottyp_inspo. Find Yourself Boxes was created to foster the connection between a person and those in life who may be working through mental health challenges by providing curated and customizable boxes filled with research-backed wellness products that promote healing. Coupling personal experience with professional mental health guidance, Find Yourself Boxes meets people where they are on their journey. Wellness doesn't look the same for every person, and these products are packaged together to touch various aspects of our wellness spectrum. Find your healing with Find Yourself Boxes at findyourselfboxes.com, and you can get 20% off your first purchase.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Scotty P Inspiration Show here with your host, Scott Prendergast, aka Scotty P. Thank you for joining me on this Monday morning. And today we are talking all about getting out of your own way. Whoa, yeah, something that every single one of us has to work on, right? And that's why I created this episode today, because I'm really excited to be able to use some things that I've helped myself and that have helped other people with to work through getting out of your own way. So real quick, though, if you want to watch any previous episodes, a couple ways you can do it. You go on scottypinspiration.com, watch my show that way. You go on any major podcast platform, search the Scotty P Inspiration Show, search it that way, or my YouTube channel, Scotty P Inspiration, watch it that way. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's get back to the show. If you're just joining us now, for the first part of the show, we were talking about what does it look like to get in your own way and how the mind is a powerful tool, and so much of this life is mental as opposed to physical. And think about all the times that you've talked yourself out of something and the assumptions that prevented you from being what you want, right? We've talked about all of that. Now, let's talk about how we move through getting out of our own way and how we move through all the insecurities and struggles that come about, okay? So the first thing that I really wrote down for this is as follows, and I love this one. You know, some people don't because it requires a bit of work, but I think it's great. First thing I wrote, we have to learn to take action on the first voice, which is what I call the idea voice, and not take action on the skeptic voice, which is the second voice. Now, don't worry, I'm going to explain this if that was a lot for you. If you recall in the first part of the show, I talked about we have two voices, and which voice we act on is going to determine what we see. This is what I was talking about. I feel like with every idea that we have, every situation we have, almost every moment that we have on this earth, we have two voices. First voice is always a great one. The first voice is this idea voice that I call it. It's the voice that says, hey, you know what? You can do that. Hey, you know what? Maybe you should quit your job and start this new job. Hey, you know what? Maybe you should follow your passions in life. Hey, you know what? Maybe you should try that. Maybe you should go to that place. Maybe you should do something you haven't done before. Maybe you could do that. You could do it. You should try that. You can do that. I love the idea voice. Big fan of the idea voice. Scotty P Inspiration LLC was created because of the idea voice. The idea voice is the voice that drives us forward in life. The idea voice is the one that gives us passion. The idea voice, that first voice, is the one that gets us excited when we wake up in the morning to do something with our lives. It's great. It's exciting. It's cool. It's awesome. I love it. You love it. But there's a second voice. The second voice is the skeptic voice. And anytime the idea voice comes to play, guess what's right behind it? The skeptic voice. They are tied together. They are a package deal. They never go anywhere without each other. So the skeptic voice is the voice that you hear shortly after your idea voice that starts saying, who do you think you are? You can't do that. You know, that's for other people that have this and that. You don't have that. You'll never be able to do that. You can't measure up. You're nothing. You can't do that. You can't start your own business. You don't have the training for that. You can't drop out of school because of this or that, because that's what everyone else has done. You can't do that. You can't be with that person. You can't start that new career. You can't get that promotion. You can't go back to school. You ever hear this voice before? Yeah, I know. Me too. All the time. Now, here's the thing. These voices come together, and more times than not, we listen to that skeptic voice. The idea voice is so friendly and nice, and it puts all these great ideas in our head and gives us this passion. And the skeptic voice comes in, it's just like a wet blanket and just tries to ruin everything. And then a lot of times what happens is we go, oh, yeah, well, I guess that skeptic voice is right. I guess I really can't do that. Look at my situation. I can't. No way. I can't financially do that. Or, oh, I don't have the talent to do that. Or I'm not the type of person to be able to do that. So, yeah, okay. Well, moving on to the next thing. Come on now. Since when do we have to let that skeptic voice just bully us? Now, I want you, the listener, to really, come on, let's go, rock with me. Put on your seatbelt because let's go. I want you, the listener, to tell that skeptic voice next time it comes to your head to shut up. And I don't care if you're in the middle of a library in college and you scream, shut up, as loud as you can, but you do it. You do it because we need to start taking action on our idea voice and start knocking out our skeptic voice. Because here's the thing, it's always going to be there. We can't say, okay, Scott, well, I'll just wait until the one day the skeptic voice isn't there, and then I'll just be happy. Who are you kidding? It's always going to be there. But just because it's always going to be there doesn't mean we always have to listen to it and take action on it and let it put us in a box and bully us around. Come on now. Let's go, baby. Come on. We can do this. And it starts with taking action on the first voice, because that's the mistake that we make. We'll hear the idea voice and we love it. We're like, yeah, but we don't take action on it. And when we don't take action on it, the skeptic voice can come in and just do whatever it wants because it's easy for it to do that because we haven't taken any action. But if we start to take action on that idea voice, all of a sudden it makes the skeptic voice tremble, because now we're providing evidence back to ourselves to say, wait a minute, you know what? I can do this. I've made some progress. I've taken the first steps. All of a sudden, I might be able to actually become what I want to become and do what I want to do. Whoa, who knew? And that type of action that we take is what puts the skeptic voice back on its heels. And it starts going, well, no, you're wrong. And here's why. And it'll still be there, okay? And it'll come at you probably harder. But you now have that evidence to provide to yourself to say, you know what? I can do this. But it starts with taking action. So for you, the listener today, I don't know what it is that you want to take action on. I don't know what it is that you want to be or want to do, or what your internal battle you're fighting between these two voices. But find some way today, even if it's the smallest way, to take action on your idea voice, to take action on that little voice. Okay? Now, I can't tell you how to do that because it looks different for everybody, but I want you to do that. Okay. And even if it's just the smallest thing of action of maybe, I don't know, writing down a plan for what you want to do, I don't care. Find some way to take action. Okay. That is going to be the first step to defeating the skeptic voice and starting to see that idea voice come to fruition. Okay. So that's the first little piece that I have here for you. The second thing, the strategy that I wrote down, check in on the story you're telling yourself. Now, I'm big on this. I talk about this a lot because we all tell ourselves stories, right? We love to be storytellers for other people, but we're really storytellers to ourselves. The thing is, the stories that we tell to ourselves are a lot of times pretty horrific and negative and nasty. But we don't like to tell anybody that. We act like we got everything figured out and we're all this great stuff. We post on Instagram about all this yada, yada, yada. But inside, we're telling ourselves just these horrific stories, okay? But I want you to check in on that. Because a lot of times we'll tell ourselves these stories and we don't even realize we're saying it to ourselves. So for you today, I want you to check in on what story you're telling yourself. Are you telling yourself a story based off of your skeptic voice? Or are you telling yourself a story based off of your idea voice? And be honest with yourself here, because it ain't going to work if you're not, okay? Be honest with yourself. And I really want you to do that. Another way to think of it. What are you taking inventory of? Okay, are you taking inventory of the good things in your life? Are you taking inventory on how much progress you've made? Are you taking inventory of the exciting things that are happening in your life? Or are you taking inventory and hoarding, as I like to kind of say, all the problems, all the issues, all the hate, all the resentment, all the things that haven't gone your way or gone right? Now, this is very confronting for some people because a lot of people are just taking inventory of everything wrong that's happened to them and just holding on to it and refusing to let go. And if that's you, my friend, you got a little bit of work to do. I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay. And you got to be honest with yourself and say, by me holding on to all this anger and pain and resentment of things didn't go right, who am I helping and how am I helping myself? And can I answer that for you? You're not helping yourself and you're not helping anybody else. Just be honest. Okay. You want to live the life that you want to live. We get one of these things, okay? And holding on to all the things that didn't go right is only going to make you miserable for the duration that you're on this earth. So it's time to let go of some of that stuff, not to ignore it. No, it happened. Allow yourself to feel what you feel. Allow yourself to acknowledge what happened and all of that. But it's time to let go of some of it. And it's time to start taking inventory of the positives, the good things, the things that have moved you forward in your life, the good things that are in your life right here, right now, today. It's time to start taking inventory on some of that stuff, on your idea voice, okay? Easy? No. And I'm not out here saying that it is. I deal with this on a daily basis. But I also have seen the progress of it. And I've also seen the proof that it does work. Okay, so check in with yourself. What story are you telling yourself? Get that answer. Also, what are you taking inventory of? You do those two things, all of a sudden you're going to be a whole lot more self-aware about what's going on in your life, okay? As we get towards the end of the show here, still got a few more minutes. One of the things that I wrote down, and I love this little strategy, is as followed. And it's interesting because it doesn't work for everybody, but I found it works for me and it works for a lot of people I work with too. What I like to do is I create a little time block for self-criticism. Okay, now here's what I mean by that. It's easy to criticize yourself all throughout the day about all the different things that you've done wrong, and that's just simply unproductive. And that's just beating yourself into the ground and is going to lead to a whole lot of issues, right? But at the same time, we can't just ignore stuff and not be self-critical because then we're never going to grow or get better, right? So what I like to do is I create a little time block. Sometimes it's just for 10 minutes, sometimes for 20, sometimes for 30, depends on the day, right? I create this time block. I literally put a timer on my phone and I say, okay, for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to look at my life and I'm going to be critical about certain things. I'm going to be critical about what I could do better or this or that, right? And during that 20, 30 minutes, whatever it is, I write down these different things. And then when that time block is done, it's done. Okay, that's my time each day. And I got to wait till tomorrow if I want to be self-critical again. So what this does is it allows me to not ignore and stick my head in the sand and say, everything's all good and fine, yay, when it's clearly not always. But it also prevents me from going about my day just ruminating on all the things that I'm not or couldn't do right or wrong or this or that. So I think that when we create this little block of time, it allows us to really say, hey, okay, you know what? Like, I could do this. Yeah, I know I've got stuff to work on, but I'm not only focusing on that. And so then when we allow ourselves that time, when you're going throughout the day and like when a self-critical moment comes up, you're like, oh, I should be this or that. Say, nope, stop. I will put that and make a note of it. And I will put that in my self-critical time for tomorrow. In my 20, 30-minute block tomorrow, then I will talk about it. But right now, I'm not focusing on it. I'm moving forward. And this right here, it helps tremendously. I mean, I hope it works for you. It works for me. It works for a lot of people I talk with. But you know, everybody's different, okay? But the idea is it prevents us from ruminating all day long on the things we don't like about ourselves and haven't gone right, and instead gives us a designated time to do that so that we can grow instead of beating ourselves into the ground, okay? So I hope that's something that can work for you. So one of the last things I want to say here as we wrap this up, we got a few minutes left of the show. I think what's really important is I kind of look at it like this. Let's imagine our life is a river, right? It's one of these flowing rivers. It's going really well when things are going well. It's flowing, free flowing, water's everywhere, right? Yaha, woohoo, yay, it's good, right? But then when things get tough, sometimes think of it like there's a little dam buildup. Imagine the river gets real narrow, it gets real shallow, and all of a sudden a bunch of sticks and logs kind of clog up this one spot, right? And this one spot that gets clogged up, it gets so clogged up sometimes that the river completely stops flowing through it at all, and it dries up on the other side. So that dam is different for everybody. That dam made of sticks and logs looks different for you than it does for me. And for some people, that dam is insecurity. For some people, it's a job that they don't like. For some people, it's a feeling of inadequacy. For some people, it's a certain trauma. For other people, it's something that didn't go right in their life, right? I don't know what that dam is for you, but for you, the listener, what I want you to do today is to learn to address what it is. Okay, be honest with yourself and saying, what is it, that thing that when my life is flowing like a river and all of a sudden it gets dammed up and stopped, what is that thing that's damming it up? What is that thing that is clogging the flow? What is that? And you might not know right now, that's okay, but I want you to think about it. I want you to think about, what is that reoccurring thing that continues to clog that flow of my life? And if we can find out what that thing is, then we can take steps to moving forward and moving through it. And that's such a powerful thing, to allow that river of life to keep flowing again. But we don't get there until we first address what's clogging it up, okay? So I really want you, the listener, to try doing that today. Say, okay, let me be honest, let me be introspective here. What is that reoccurring thing that keeps clogging my life's flow? Think about it. And you might not get the answer today or tomorrow or even next week, but you will at some point. And when you do, when you work through that, you're going to be able to see so much more open up in your life and see that life's river start flowing again. So everybody, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Scotty P Inspiration Show today. Super thankful you're here. Tune in again next week. We've got so much more great content for you. I appreciate you all. I hope you all have a great week and this could help you in some type of way. Thank you again, everybody. Have a great day. This is Scotty P signing off.